So I'm recording this from my home office, and I'm looking out my yard, and I'm thinking, okay, who am I? I mean, you may have seen our ads talking about valuation calculator and why it's important to know what your business is worth and what makes that up. And why should you trust me? I mean, I'm just some candy lady, right? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little background. I'm going to tell you why I care, and why it matters. And you do what you do. You can take it or leave it. So I think the best thing to do is just to show up authentically about with your passion and what matters to you. So, okay, so my name is Tracy Gunn. So we're going to give a quick synopsis. So basically, I got married at 20, had a baby at 20, met my now ex-husband at 17, and I stayed home and homeschooled for a long time until everything kind of hit the fan. And then my solution to everything hitting the fan was to create a business. Right? Gave me a project, gave me something to do, and that was my candy store. It was called Life is Sweet. Still is called Life is Sweet 17 years later. And so I just always had this belief in myself that I could figure it out, that I'm a relatively smart person. I have a lot of common sense. I have a good work ethic. I'm driven. And so no matter what it takes, I'll show up. And chances are, my guess is you are the same exact way, right? You know how when you have a goal, nothing's going to stop you from it, and you know that nobody's showing up to save you, and you have to save yourself, right? And so I consistently put myself in those positions. So over the next bunch of years, I had the candy store, but then I opened a restaurant, then I opened a second restaurant, then I opened a second candy store. So at the beginning of 2019, which is when I really kind of hit the wall, I was working 18-hour days, and I was running 2 restaurants and 2 candy stores by myself, and it was a lot. I mean, you can imagine just one business is a lot, right? All the pressure, all the staff, all the inventory control and customer service and social media and all of the things that we all have to deal with, whether you're doing e-com or consulting or manufacturing. There are things we just have to deal with, and that's life. And when you own a business, the buck stops with you. It's like radical responsibility as a business owner. And so in 2019, I just decided I didn't want to do all this anymore. I was working really hard. I was doing over $1 million in sales between the businesses. And, so I had cash flow, and I was going away quarterly because I was working 18-hour days every day. And so I never saw my new husband. I opened my restaurant actually the year we got married, and never saw him either. And so I would schedule quarterly to go away for a week, to decompress, to catch up. So that's still part of my repertoire. But 2019, I had a grandbaby. My kids were further away, and I just was working really hard, and I thought, there's got to be a better way. And so I really decided that I was going to sell. I had 4. I mean, some days I would have paid somebody. I said this before. Maybe you feel that way too, about how, if somebody could come in and just rescue you, that you would just seize that opportunity. Or what if somebody raised their hand and was like, how about I take over half of this? I help you grow, and I'll just have part of your business. I mean, how often do we think, gosh, I wish someone would rescue me? So anyway, but nobody was showing up to help me. And so I hired a broker, which is what most people do. Most people, same for selling your house. You think, oh, I'm going to sell my house, I need to hire a broker. Because so many people have sold houses before, we often try it first ourselves, but almost no people think, oh, I'll sell my business myself. Unless somebody walks in and makes you an offer, most people think, oh, a broker is what I need. And so I hired a broker. He's a nice man. I've worked with him before. He had helped me with some real estate things. And, the pressure, right? The stress of showing him the books, my operation, my SOPs, like all of the things that I had built over the years. And, I was running all my businesses and they were all profitable, but they were not, killing it. And I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it great. But I was doing it, right? Squeaky wheel, you take care of everything. And maybe that sounds familiar to you. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to the idea of, you do the things that you have to do as you have to do them, and maybe you don't always get ahead. So anyway, backstory. So I hired a broker, and, I went through all of the emotion. We can talk about that in a later video, but the gist is that the broker, when he finally came back to me, and he's, again, keep in mind, he's a nice man, I have nothing against brokers, but he told me my business was not worth selling. None of them were, and that it would be better to just liquidate. And it's kind of like when you are like you go to school and the teacher is going to tell you all about your child. There's a little bit of defensiveness, and like, your kid and your kid's not perfect, but if somebody else says something, gosh, you're defensive. Well, he was giving me his opinion, and his opinion was that I had a 0 valuation and it wasn't worth selling. Now, I cried. I had a little moment or two. And then I had to really struggle and reconcile with the idea that, was he right? And if he was right, what was I missing? Because I had a functioning business. You know how hard it is to start something, to get everything working, to get it all outfitted, to get everything there, to get your first customers, to keep having your customers, to hire your staff, to filing your taxes, to having systems created, to improving. I mean, you know how to do all those things. That's worth something to someone, but maybe not the broker. So just keep that in mind. And so I thought to myself, there's a piece of this that I'm missing. Like, first of all, how did he come up with a 0 valuation? And second, is he right? And third, what am I going to do about that? Okay? And so we all have options all the time, but it starts with knowing your value. Okay? So I went with the perspective that he said it was worth nothing. Well, it's an easy place to start, right? And any improvement would be an improvement. And so that's what I did. I sat down and I created actually some of the tools that you've maybe seen for myself to get really clear about, okay, what are all the pieces that I need to fix, okay, in order to sell? How do I make this business transferable? How do I make it more profitable? How do I make my staff more dependable? How do I lessen my time commitment so that somebody potentially buying it isn't signing on for an 80-hour work week, right? How do I do all those things? And so that's exactly what I did. I sat down for the big business. I had a 6,500 square foot restaurant. This was the one that was killing me the most. And so I sat down and I came up with a big list, which didn't intimidate me. And I gave myself 6 months, and I thought, okay, I'm giving myself, I could do anything for 6 months. So I'm going to keep going for 6 more months, and I'm going to try to maximize my sales. I'm going to try to systematize my processes. I'm going to try to delegate my work, and I am going to try to figure out how to make this a sellable business. And if it doesn't work in 6 months, I'll just liquidate. Okay? And what I'll tell you was that it's a process. I'm not special. I'm not super smart. I'm smart. I'm sure you're smart too. But I think it was being open to being wrong, open to doing the work to fix it, and open to what my options were that allowed it to go really quickly. Okay? And so I created the tools that are in the Get Exitable program to help you to get there, right? It was like a launch pad. And 3, 2, 1, once I did the prep work, boom, I was able to do it. And there were some things that I could do really fast. Like I had tech in place for my customers that I could quickly ramp up a loyalty program and scale my business that I hadn't thought of before. But it was right there, and it was just as simple as turning on a switch. There are things in your business just like that. There were some people in my business that had bigger capabilities than I was allowing them to do. And so for a couple extra hours a week, magically, I had more profitability and some of my workload decreased. So now I had more time freedom. And the more that I did these things, the more I could see light at the end of the tunnel. And I didn't hate my business as much anymore. And so the long story short, we'll get to the point, is that I found a buyer in 3 months. And this from a business that was, the broker had said was worth nothing and just liquidated. I found somebody who wanted to take it on, who had watched my progress, who sat at my bar. He didn't own a business. It was not something that he had thought about. But one day he just asked me, would you consider selling this to me? And I was like, gosh, look at how quickly things change. And I had to think about it because the business was not so hard anymore. I had fixed so many of the things. So I had more time freedom, more money, right? And I could see the writing on the wall of where I was going, just like he could. And I'm sure that's true in your business too. So I'll save the rest of the story for another day, but that is who I am. And so I'm not an expert. I'm not a broker. But I really think at the crux of this all, what I wish someone had told me, what I wish someone had warned me about, was what was my end game. And that's our mission here, right? We want to warn you that selling your business is hard, that we have 12 million small business owners coming up that are going to sell their businesses too, that selling business is already hard, your business is probably not ready, and there's not enough buyers to buy them all, and 12 million are coming. So those 4 things make it like a dire warning for your business. And whether you're ready to retire, ready to move on, or lost your passion, whatever it is, these are things that I wish someone had told me about when I started. And so that's our mission. Our mission is to warn people, whether you take our tools, whether you sign up for our program, whether we work directly with you, whether you do it yourself. The biggest thing for us is to sound the alarm. I don't want anybody to feel the things that I've felt and be alone in them and feel hopeless. And so hopefully this serves. But I'm not going to stop until every business owner knows what their business is worth, knows what makes up that number, and really that, because when you do that, you start to think about what you can do to fix those things. A target never set is never reached. If you were heading to LA and you set in your GPS, but you never put Los Angeles, you could wind up in the North Pole. You have to set the target. You have to know the direction you're going. And you have to know, even if you have to work it backwards, how to get there. And these are the parts being a business owner. We're so busy with all the things and family and friends and life that we forget this piece. But if we figured out this piece, all the other things would fall in line. And that's what Get Exitable is all about. So I hope this serves. I hope it helps. I'm going to talk about it a lot more, but this is the initial story. Since that time, I've done the buyer, I've done a liquidation, I've done a consolidation, I've done an earn-in, and now I'm back to owning my candy store full time. And because I took it back from my earn-in, and now I'm re-implementing all the procedures. So all the places you are, I'm right back there with you, right? You're never done. And so follow along. You'll see all the struggle, because the struggle's real, and see how I do it myself. I'm putting the Get Exitable program to work again for the third time. Anyway, fourth time actually. So thanks so much for watching. And if you have any questions, if you know a business owner who could use this, we have a free valuation worksheet that teaches you all the pieces. That is in the bio. That is on getexitable.com. We have a valuation calculator. We have a free 14-day trial that gets you into the program, that gives you the first 5 modules that helps you figure out what your business is worth now, what you can do, where are you, where are your gaps, figure out your roadmap, and get some quick success. So that is available online as well. And I hope it serves. I think small business owners are the backbone of our country. If we didn't exist, this country would be pretty in a bad shape. And we could be, you know. And so I want you to get the exit you deserve, to get the time freedom and the success that you worked really hard for. And sometimes it's just you're this close. So check out those things, and I hope you have a great day. Enjoy.